Deep Mindfulness Collective. This right here, right now. It's the joy of being a live stream coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York. And if you're finding us anywhere in the world other than exactly right here, man, you are in the wrong place. Folks, very excited to be here with you. New background, but new camera, well, not really new camera, old camera. Camera was so on the fritz. It was crazy. Let's see here. If you want to watch the other camera, this is all you'll see. It won't transition. It'll just be this frozen for the entire time. Looks better, color's nicer, and you won't be able to see me at all. So that is what's up. Folks, what is up? Great to see you. Nice to be here with you. Getting a little lens flare here. Well, I'm not going to do nothing about that. So folks, very, very nice to see you here. What's going on? What is new? Where are you coming from? Big questions for you. Where are you? What's your piece of gratitude? Grateful for puppy learning new things. I'm just going to keep the spelling mistakes in there for fun. Excellent, excellent. Folks, very happy to be here with you. Oh, it's too bad with the other camera, the lights did a sort of seizure-inducing flicker, which was very exciting. You can sort of see it there. It's sort of a little bit of a flicker, but not so much. Excellent, excellent. Okay, folks. What is going on? What is new? What's happening? Excellent. We have 613 saying morning from NorCal. Grateful for the first day of 2 week holiday. Yeah, nice holiday time. Happy solstice from Kingston. Oh my God, is today the solstice? I thought it was coming up soon. I didn't realize it was today. Wow. Okay, that's important. Okay, let's attend to that, because today, being the shortest day, we'll balance all our eggs. We're gonna have like a massive egg balancing, like, I don't know, what do you call that? It's not an orgy. It's like a fucking whole city. The whole entire city is just gonna have balanced eggs. Every front door. I don't know, like purge, egg balancing purge, and also that means the days are getting longer, starting tomorrow. So let's not focus too much on needing the days to get longer, because whatever, you know. But thanks for the reminder, Rory. Or is it? Maybe it's maybe Canada celebrate. I think if I remember correctly, Canada celebrates the solstice 2 weeks before the United States celebrates it. So maybe you're a little early. What you got, Sila? Sila, bring the ball. Oh, that's not for you. Whatever you have is not for you. Okay, I got to take something away from the dog. 1 sec. I thought she had like a sanctioned dog toy. She has something very weird. Come on, right here. Leave it. Oh, it's cardboard. It's not the worst thing for you, but better for you would be something else. Okay, cardboard away. She's been really rambunctious recently. She's had very little playtime, so she's really not so. Also, we don't have a doggy cam now because I'm using the doggy cam. Let's see. Beep, bop, bop, beep, beep, bop. Let's go here. What's up, folks? Great to see you as folks roll in. Jean says, good morning from Brooklyn. Grateful for a snuggly cat and mixed nuts. We've thought about getting a cat, but I don't know. I feel like we're dog people, but I don't know. Maybe that's not true. Julia, welcome. Julia Temple, welcome. Oh, you changed your name, so we didn't keep calling you Julius. Julia, tuning in from Vienna, Austria. Lovely to have you here. The historical seat of culture in Europe for a period of time. I don't want to say it was always, but and also I believe the cultural center or the intellectual center of psychology. I believe. Am I correct? Freud is from Austria, or yeah, he's from Austria, and a lot of his early research was studying the aristocracy or looking at the aristocracy and realizing that it was like sort of collapsing. It was no longer what it was meant to be, and he started to study the middle class, and that was shocking, or the merchant class. Anyway, grateful for fulfilling work helping people get tested for COVID. Oh my God, that's so great that you're helping people do that. Thank you so much for your service. I changed my username to something hopefully more legible than Julia's Twitch account. Well, Julius will always remember you as Julius Twitch. Very appreciated. Let's see here. 613 says, it's the solstice and Jupiter and Saturn are in conjunction. Oh, well, see, I'm not a big astrology person, but, you know, when astrology people tell me something's important, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess I should pay attention to. I'm not sure what, but I'll pay attention to my little doggy's belly. That's what I'll pay attention to. I always thought, okay, this is very weird. Dogs love belly rubs. They're like, yeah, they're like, well, this dog is freaking out right now. It's probably because I'm holding her in a weird way. Let's try this. Let's try this like a baby, like a baby. Yeah. Yeah. Dogs like belly rubs. And then at some point I was like, is that because you just have nipples and you're like, you have 6 nipples and you're just like, I don't know. I was like, this is weird. Okay, 613. Oh, yes, solstice and Jupiter and Saturn in conjunction. Okay, let's think about that. Let's use that in our meditation. I'm not a big... I always stray a little away from the woo-woo a little bit, but we'll see. Maybe that's a good thing to keep in mind. Big deal. Tell me why is the conjunction a big deal? I'm very curious about that. Like, what does that mean? Again, I'm not poo-pooing it. I just don't know and don't follow that kind of thing. Sheila, bring the ball. The ball. Good girl. I wish you could see how cute this is. Maybe she can get up because it's a wide angle lens. Oh yeah, there we go. So we got a double cam here, double doggy. Okay. Let's see here. It's the dawning of the age of Aquarius. I wonder if that's really true. I know that was supposed to be a while ago. Literal chicken's egg. Wait, what was I talking about in terms of the egg? Oh yeah. Exactly. Okay, 613 says, it just means they're next to each other. Well, sure. Others in the sky, if you point a telescope at them, it won't happen again in our lifetimes. Not an astrology thing, just a neat event. Well, that's very cool. If somebody wants to post a picture of that in the chat, who's not like a psycho going to post, you know, a link to Lemon Party or something, I'd love to see it. I'd love to pop it up. Take a look at those two hanging out next to each other. It was actually my birthday a few years ago when Raquel and I went for a walk on the, you know, a little riverside park walk thing that we have here. There's plenty of them. The whole city surrounded by water. And someone had a telescope and they were like, do you want to see the rings of Saturn? And I was like, well, yeah. And so we were able to, I mean, I've never seen them, you know, not in a photograph before. It was just so surreal to see this like dot in the sky with very, very clear rings around it. It was just like so weird. And, you know, of course, it's actually like, even in a telescope, it's like the tiniest little like speck, but still you could see the details, like staring at a grain of salt and, you know, carefully and be like, this is amazing. Although grain of salt is not that exciting. Depends how close you look. Which is a great metaphor for, you guessed it, meditation. Folks, very excited. Now's where I get into the bassy whisper. Folks, very excited for today's meditation. I thought we would do some parts work today. So if folks are unfamiliar with parts work, let me know. Or the multiple self model is another way that we describe that. And dive in a little bit. Just start talking to those parts and seeing what they need. So, okay, I'm going to give a little brief descriptor here because I sometimes forget. I sometimes assume everyone knows sort of my general language, and then I realize, like, what the hell am I thinking? Like, people aren't going to understand what I'm talking about. So the multiple self model mirrors closely in some ways internal family systems therapy, but there are some key differences. So here's the premise. At any given moment, we have different forces within us pushing and pulling in different ways. The forces within you have pushed you strongly enough to be present, to be here, to be listening to my voice right now. Various, you know, needs being met, but one of them is to maybe meditate, hang out, connect in this way. So that has, right now, you can potentially even feel that need stronger than, let's say, your need to take a nap, right? Hopefully those two needs don't collide too strongly in this meditation. Or your need to manage a list or get a list of things done to do. And a lot of time in meditation, what's actually happening, we're taking one need, which is perhaps a need to relax or know ourselves more deeply or transform something within us, and we attend to that need And then all these other needs start popping in, and we're like, oh, I got to do this. Okay, fine. I'm just going to come back to this. Oh, I got to do this. I'm going to come back to this. And often the training in meditation is actually just to stick with what the current need is, because that is an excellent training. If we just got pulled by whatever need pulled us at any given point, well, they have a term for that, and it's called humanity. And we see how well that's working out. So without some intervention, or not always, but often without some intervention, we'll just get pushed and pulled in every silly way. So the multiple self model is here to sort of acknowledge and accept that there is a significant push and pull from all these different parts in all these different directions. So what does that mean for us? Well, a couple things, and this is where the multiple self model is significant, because it's a little different than internal family systems. Internal family systems is excellent. I highly recommend people watch videos on it, read about it, study it, do therapy in internal family systems. The slight difference is we're using all the technology from non-self concepts and experiences from Buddhism and bringing that in. And also some Hinduism, taking in the concepts of true self and this kind of thing, using cultivating a welcoming awareness as a kind of place that we can return to, this kind of thing. We did this in our last guided meditation last week. So, but how is this relevant? Well, here's how the self theory tends to work. At any point, we have a self that tends to be the one at the foreground. When it's at the foreground, it tends to come along with it, or have shaded over it, this sense that it is the one true self. So you know this, you can find out right now. Notice, the experience of self that I'm having right now, the me that seems like it's experiencing this, it seems like the one me, the real me. All those other ones that I had when I was really freaked out, last month or whatever, last year, or the one where I'm just like, I feel really embarrassed and shy and nobody likes me, or I'm like, I'm the greatest in the world, or I can conquer the world, like these different selves that arise. Those are all fine and good. Sure, those exist, but this one, maybe it's calm or relaxed or whatever, this is the real one. And this is a good piece of data, because every self tells us that. When we're in that panicked self, or we're in that I can take over the world self, we think this is it. This is the real self. This is the one that has always been here, and it sees the world as the world is my view, the world is my experience. So this is very helpful to know, because these different selves cannot navigate the world aside from their own view. Often, no, baby, don't scratch that. Often, good girl, she likes to try to dig into the cushion. I don't know why. She's a digging dog. So often what happens is when we're in an overwhelmed place, that part of us, that overwhelmed part, or whatever, we can get into the detail, but that part of us believes that its view is the only view, and life and all of reality is overwhelming. It doesn't say, oh, the system feels overwhelmed right now. Well, that's natural. Of course, that would happen from time to time, but I'll just use this other view and just slide right out of that. It doesn't have the capacity to see outside of its own view. This is often why talking to another person, sharing, what's going on with us, with friends or family, even journaling often helps us get out of our own sort of singular view, and there's a degree of mentalizing or self-reflection, and this is why being of service to other people is actually really helpful, because we get out of this sort of singular view. This is part of why the pandemic has been so crushing, because it really emphasizes the sort of isolation of this singular view. Okay, Celia, you're going to have to stop scratching like that. So when we get into the multiple self model, the question ends up being, well, how the hell do you navigate these selves each time you switch from one to the next? It tells you it is the one and only self. Well, that's very interesting. The mind is able to do two big ways of relating to reality. Dividing, or I don't even know what you call it, encompassing. We have a little drilling visiting us. So either dividing the world into little pieces or encompassing. And the dividing part of the mind is, we call that attention. It's dividing the world up into little pieces. This is what turns the world into nouns and objects, rather than seeing it as a continuous flow of sense data that is never ending. If it's objects, now it can create a little board game and fight with different objects. Me versus you, me versus the world, man versus woman, man versus nature, like all of these dualities. Awareness can cut through all of those. It doesn't really care so much about edges, and it has a more totalizing experiential effect. And you notice in this, what we do in this guide, in this stream often, is we'll get awareness of the entire body, and what that does is cut apart the sense that the body is all these individual experiences, and so it gets a totalizing, softer, less crisp view of the experience. But you'll also notice that awareness doesn't need anything to be different. Often when we are isolating the world, the mind needs to keep things in order. So we are going to explore a little bit today this relationship. So we have the mind that sort of divides things up into little pieces. Then there's awareness that can attend to these experiences without the division. So what does that mean for the multiple self model, or the internal family systems model? Well, that awareness can navigate those different parts. It can see, oh, this part is active right now, or these parts are active right now, or these parts are fighting each other. Often parts fight each other for dominance. So I notice that I have one part that feels very vulnerable. It's like, oh, I'm scared, or whatever. Some part of me that sort of has that voice. It gets, reality feels overwhelming. And then there's another part that says, you're a terrible part. Why are you're so pathetic? Whatever. It's the voice that tells me like I'm not good enough. Very sort of burned in from childhood. So these two voices are fighting, and they're fighting for dominance, and internally it feels like this awful war within me. So if I let those two just go at it, they're going to create a life of chaos internally, externally, etc. But with the kind awareness, I can now see those parts and not have them be a battle between each other. So we often treat some part of ourselves like it's bad. The part, like, oh, part of me wants to just lay on the couch and relax, and then part of me wants to be ambitious and take over the world. And at any given point, we'll say, well, relaxing is a high art. That's great. Relaxing is good. That ambitious part is just too ambitious. It sucks. It's bad. The relaxing, I want to be on vacation. That part is good. Or more often, the part that wants to relax or chill out, that one's just bad. We shouldn't use that part, or we should ignore that part. Just crush it, and then we can just be ambitious all the time. Wouldn't that be lovely? That's more of a kind of Western drive. So the key is to actually realize both of these parts have needs. It's up to us. When I say us, I mean the kind awareness, to navigate those needs, get the needs met so they don't get met through, donuts, or, using drugs, or being mean to people, etc. Because those are tactics of individual parts that can't see the whole. It can't see that donuts will not actually resolve the problem. It's found, that whatever part finds, when I'm stressed, I eat a bunch of donuts and suddenly that stress goes down. It doesn't see like, yeah, but then this other part feels like crap for days. So all of that to say, let's meditate, folks. So find a nice comfortable position that you can maintain for the duration of the sit. We will be meditating for 25 minutes. I know it sounds impossible, but trust me. Here's the key. I just want to make very clear. You can either meditate with us for 25 minutes, or 25 minutes is going to go by and you will not have meditated. You will have none of the benefits of meditating. So either way, 25 minutes is going by. My suggestion is to use it very wisely and join us. So I'm going to encourage folks to be still for the duration of the practice. 2 variations of complete stillness, and I mean complete stillness. 2 variations are, one, if overwhelm starts to even creep in a little bit, go ahead and make any mini adjustments or whatever, just to see if you can dispel that. If it still keeps kind of creeping up, go ahead and open the eyes, rest the eyes on a single point. If even that's too much, go ahead and just stop the meditation. You do not want overwhelm to take over. Very important. Also, you can move if it's just so distracting you can't move, you can't continue, but make sure that you make the adjustment or scratch the itch or whatever slowly, mindfully, as slowly as you can, so that you can stay with it continuously. You want continuous mindfulness as a goal. So folks, find that nice comfortable position that you can maintain for the duration of the sit. Okay, let's see here. I need to add, for the timer, I need to add another camera here. Let's see here. Can I just cut and paste a camera? What? I did it. Okay. Okay, our timer will now work. Okay, excellent. Okay, folks, so find that nice comfortable position. I see Rory, you left a little comment here, but let's get to that after. I want to get right into the meditation. And let's see how it works. Let's see how it works. So folks who know this material already, Go ahead and step forward to calm the system down a little bit, find awareness, find kind awareness, and begin to occupy that. Okay, if you don't follow what I just said, ignore that. Oh my goodness, we have a new follow from Tax Mom Crown, Texas Mom Crown, maybe, Texas. Welcome to the stream. We're about to meditate. So if you don't follow what I just said, just ignore it. We'll guide you there, but if folks want to jump there ahead, if you know what I'm talking about, and you can do so without, losing it, go for it. So find that nice comfortable position. Forgive me. Okay, and when you're ready, we will begin. Beginning by taking a few comfortable deep breaths and just feeling the body rise and fall. We begin with this very simple task. By simplifying the task, we immediately discover the different drives within us. So we're just observing the body as it lifts and drops in relationship to the breath. And what we'll find very quickly is that other sensations, thoughts, impulses will intrude. And this is quite natural. At the beginning of a practice, we see distraction as a problem, something to fight against, but it's actually quite natural. We just allow the million distractions to be present and come back to the one set of sensations we're attending to, in this case, the body rising and falling as the breath comes and goes. And physically relaxing the body. Relaxing all of the major muscle groups, the neck and shoulders, the arms and hands. Deeply relaxing the torso, including the upper chest and upper back, the lower back, where the back meets the hips, the lower belly, and the hips and upper legs. The knees down to the feet, relaxing these large areas of the body. And then relaxing more than you can even physically feel, just assuming there are microtensions all the way down to the bone. So even if we can't feel it physically, relaxing further. We can relax more than we can physically feel. And as we physically relax the entire body, let's attend to the totality of the relaxing body rather than any particular part. So as we physically relax in all directions, noticing all of the body. Not trying to get it super crisp and clear, just a general sense of the overall body activity. And each time we can detect a general sense of the overall body experience. It doesn't have to be super precise. We don't have to add lots or capture every tiny detail, just to capture a general sense of the body. The label we'll use in this case is this. Today, the term this is referring to the overall body experience in this precise moment. This set of sensations in this moment. And of course, at times, other sensations will predominate. The mind will be pulled towards sounds, mental images, mental audio, or pulled to a particular sensation, some part of the body. And we have a term for this as well. Anything that is not the overall sense of the body, we're simply going to call it not this. So for just an instant, the mind will get a sense of the overall body, and the mind then will label this set of sensations in this moment. And the game is to stay with this. To be respectful of the definition of this It's not a generic thing. It's precisely this set of sensations in this precise moment, never to be felt again, never felt before. The experience of this will only happen once in a lifetime. And it has the potential power to deeply transform us, so we don't want to miss it. What is not this? Well, that's every other sense experience. The sound of my voice, the sounds around you, the mind thinking, and audio or visual data, these are all examples of not this. Or if the mind zooms into some tiny part of the body, just detecting that tiny part among all the other sensations, and once again we found this. Remembering that the definition of not this is also extremely specific. It's not what? It leads us right back to this. So even distractions lead us right back to this. When distraction naturally arises and we drift away, knowing this is expected, not a problem. We've simply floated into not this. Not what? Not this. Now we'll make a subtle shift. Rather than slicing the world into two categories, as we've done, we're going to attend to the one category. And that is all that can be perceived in this moment. So this and not this merge. No need to divide them anymore. All distractions are gone. Just getting an overall snapshot of whatever is experienced in this moment. Not looking for specific details, just the general constellation. Letting awareness encompass the general totality of our experience for just a moment. And recognizing that this large awareness, it may seem novel or familiar, and from one perspective, this in fact is the true self, true being. A part of us that simply knows experience and doesn't need it to be different. And we can compare this to the experience of self, of me. So for a moment, attend to the experience of me, I. Sometimes we imagine it's the observer. Often we experience this as though it were in the center of the body or behind the eyes. But it feels like me. What we imagine is me. Noticing that it's a kind of particle, a specific area. And once again, introduce that area to all sensing, noticing if there's any difference. Often when we come in contact with a self, it has a kind of gravitational pull. It feels like it's the center of the world. So if we can't get out of, or we feel stuck in the sense of me or self or I, as though it were at a gravitational center, let's take a moment to tune into what is it pulling from. If it has all the gravity, what's the experience at the outer reaches of this gravity? And we find our way right back to awareness. Now we're going to add something a little different. from the voice of the awareness itself. We're simply going to say hello to the overall system. This is a deep introduction. And we'll find that one of two things will tend to happen. We'll stay with the awareness, or we'll be pulled into a particular self, back to the gravitational center, a me or I. And so we can choose which perspective to speak from the self to the awareness, or from the awareness to the self. And we'll find that one will be easier, and we want to go with the easier one. At this moment, self is arising very strongly in my experience. So from that experience of self, I'm going to say hello, speaking to this awareness that feels like it's outside of me. But for you, it may be the opposite. Noticing any emotions that arise as we speak to something larger. Spacious, kind and welcoming. Often our vulnerabilities arise. And as long as we don't get lost or pulled away into thinking, we can cultivate this early introduction relationship between what we might call true self, true being, and a particular self, whatever me or I is arising in this moment. Often, whatever self arises will judge itself. It is better or worse. It is good or bad, or has flaws, or is perfect. But the awareness simply knows whatever experience arises. It simply is open to it. And so we can tell which one we are with at any given moment. A self which prefers totally natural, expected, common human experience. An awareness which simply takes in, welcomes, kindly and gently is present with whatever arises. And this platform, this dialogue that we're beginning to introduce, this very new and fresh relationship, this is the place where deep, transformational, unburdening, deep emotional release, our deepest sense of safety and belonging can be cultivated. So if we're experiencing a self, for a moment know that it is deeply accepted by, entirely heard by, held and cared for by this kind awareness. And staying with the practice, staying in stillness, allowing a tiny bit of light to enter the eyes, eventually allowing the eyes to rest on a single point as they fully open. Letting the spaciousness of seeing allow our awareness to expand, taking in the overall seeing experience as well. Letting this spacious, kind awareness be our teacher in this moment. And in this way, allowing this particular moment to show us how we might bring this practice into every aspect of our life. Okay. So what was that experience like? What happened and what do you like now? Folks, what a delightful, fun ride that was. So stretch in any way you need to allow the body to be comfortable. I've been recently, when I'm doing stretching, trying to attend to the pleasant sensations in the stretching, because I feel like often my mind is drawn to the uncomfortable sensations in stretching. I'm trying to just attend to the parts that feel good to get myself to do it more. Oh, I can never fully stretch because these earphones are in the way. All right, folks, so now is where we have my favorite part, which is where we get to talk about what our experience was like, what happened, and what on earth are we like now. Excellent. Okay, folks. So, a couple options here. One is, my little doggy's sleeping down here. If I can show you without messing up. This camera's so delicately balanced. Can you see this? No, you can't see it. The dog is asleep right there. Yeah, little sleepy doggy. What a cute little sleepy doggy. You'll notice we have the dog cage set up around the Christmas tree because the dog, we discovered, very much likes everything, every flavor related to a Christmas tree, apparently. From the twigs to the ornaments to the leaves, all of which are super undigestible by dogs. Okay, so folks, tell me what that experience was like, what happened, what you're like now, and we will go from there. Let me adjust so I can adjust and not knock over the dog. I'm always I don't want to disturb her sleeping, but she just sleeps 80% of the day, so whatever. Okay, oh, still recording. Okay, so I just want to make this note. So Rory said something before the we went into the meditation, so I want to like copy that, Roger. Okay, actually, let's maybe we can get the computer to read it so I won't mess it up. I'm known to my dyslexia makes everything a little complex. Okay, here we go. Rory speaking about, we were talking before about planets being in junction, today being the solstice, which I don't know this stuff, so Rory's going to fill us in.
Astrologers have hotly debated when the age of Aquarius begins and when it ends, she says. Some claim it began in 1900, but most agree it starts on the 21st of December 2020 with the Grand Conjunction.
Wow. So this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. That's very exciting. I didn't know that. So today, wait, today? Wow, damn. I mean, hey, listen, that's very exciting. We have a new follow by Leader. Welcome, Leader. I tip a glass of precisely 1 liter of water. Yeah. Hope you guys like those excellent jokes. Okay, okay, that's why I'm off center. Excellent. And then we have a new friend here, Dion. I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back. Nice to see you here. Dion says, cool. Okay. Denny, also known as Black Scales Merton, says,
couldn't be here for the whole meditation as I had another meeting run over. Just wanted to say hi and express how thankful I am for this channel.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you so much. I'm so happy you're having a good time. I want to put something here in the chat. If ever you want to watch any one of these archives, we actually, P.S., if you don't know already, I put the links in the chat just now. If you don't know already, we put time codes. So if you're like, I only want to talk about this topic or that topic, go to the second YouTube channel, the youtube.com/deepmindfulness2, and then you can look at the description of the video, and there's time codes, and you can jump to different parts if you just want to do the meditation, or if you want to look at different discussion points. Today I gave a fun sort of definition around, oh, we have a new subscriber here, 2020CL, welcome, thank you so much for subscribing. Oh my god, Denny gifted a tier 1 subscription to 2020CL. That's very kind of you, Denny. Thank you so much. Denny's such a kind, generous supporter. Denny has gifted so many subs. It's just amazing. I really appreciate that. It's very kind of you. You know, this is an interesting thing. Somebody sent, and I don't know who it is, someone sent me $15 on PayPal, and I was like, that's very kind. Thank you so much. But wait, who are you? And I don't know what it's for. And I'm like, do I accept it? Because you have to accept it. I'm like, do I accept this money? Is this some sort of scam? And I'm like, I don't know. I guess you just say accept. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I don't want to. I don't know if it's a mistake or something. I don't want to like take someone's money. Okay, let's go here. Let's read more reports here. Thank you, Jenny. So okay, going back, I put the links up, and then Julie, also known as Julie Temple, says,
my mind went from sorta hectic to a little more calm now. During the saying hello to the whole system phase, I actually saw ways some conflicting parts might be able to work together a little, maybe.
Wow, very cool. Yeah, so basically this is a very like beginning exploration. I mean, a lot of the explorations that we'll do here around this are beginning, not because like we never move past the beginning level, but it really is a lot of like slow introductions, because different parts have been, you know, like our system is driven so often by like, oh, I need another thing, I need to understand, I need to do this, I need to, like all this need, like driving. These parts very rarely, if ever, actually see consciously that their needs can be met from this kind of awareness. And when you can actually show them that experientially, it is unbelievable. It's like ecstatically fulfilling, because these parts who've been trying and working so hard, like the ones that stressed all the time and worrying, well, it realizes suddenly like the thing it's trying to get from worrying, if it tries to get that from the kind awareness, suddenly it's like it gets the thing it's been searching for its whole life. It takes a little while, because at first it's like, no, we don't get that there. We get that from worrying. But then you start to apply it to that kind of awareness, and it's just like, I mean, I hate to sound overly dramatic or hyperbolic or whatever, but the only way I can describe it is it's ecstatic. And sometimes it's too intense. It's just like, oh my God. So that's generally my experience. It feels very, very, very good to get that need actually met, especially because it feels like we've been waiting for that need to be met like our entire lives. We've been trying and trying. Okay, so Jean says here,
I really enjoyed that. Unfortunately, I started to get a little sleepy in the middle. My stomach has been bugging me, I think from something I ate, so I'm joining from bed and have a cat curled up on my lap, which was just a little too cozy, I guess.
Gotcha. Well, listen, it's always finding that balance. So you're a little tummy sick and, etc. So you're trying to find that exact balance. And sometimes, that's actually the thing that we need more than we need, sometimes we think, oh, I need meditation, I need to concentrate. And if we're sick, sometimes we just need rest. So, thank you. 2020 CL says, thank you to Denny. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate folks taking care of each other here. It's very, very kind. It's just such a sweet thing when people support other people on the stream. That to me is more like, I care about that much more than supporting me. This stream is, just to be like totally transparent, this stream is not a moneymaker. I don't know if anyone has done the math on that. Is very much opposite of that. So when people support each other, that's super, super sweet. I'm not here to like get 1 million people and make all the money. I support myself other ways. So here it's just so sweet when people support each other. Gabriel says, hello, Janusz. I wrote my report before you sent the link. Maybe you missed it. Okay. So let me miss just before the link. Oh my God. That's such a thorough report. Let's see here. Gabriel, thank you for reminding me. Really, really appreciate that. So Gabriel says,
a few interesting themes came up. The mind asking, is it okay to relax the body that much? And then a sense of emotional activation. Also thinking about how to report my experience during the meditation. Finally, feeling the awareness collapse around a self when you asked us to notice it. Having a preference for awareness come up, and feeling this preference relax in the last minutes of the meditation.
That's so awesome. Okay, so I just want to let's just go do this piece by piece because this is a really, really clear report with a lot of detail. A few interesting things came up. Let's do this piece by piece. Okay, so I'm going to do it again. I want to go piece by piece.
A few interesting themes came up. The mind asking, is it okay to relax the body that much? And then a sense of emotional activation.
Okay, so there really is. I mean, you can, like I've described it the other ways sometimes, like you can let go physically so deeply, you can try it now, that it can feel like you're falling. Just like there's no ground anymore. And that can be very scary, especially if we have any, ego, because the ego likes to hold on. And we forget that we're physically gripping onto the world a lot of the time. It's a physical, very, very subtle, but often very persistent gripping. And we say like, oh, clinging is something we want to work through or get past or whatever. It's often a physical clinging in the body. So that's a fine instruction, except it gets complicated as soon as you add in trauma. So if we have trauma, it's very important that we know to not just push ourselves too far. We always want to be very careful about our window of tolerance, and then slowly teach the system slowly that we can, try more and that it's safe to try more. But if we have our window of tolerance is this big, and window of tolerance is like how much you can take before you freak out. For people who have a lot of trauma, it's like it can be very compressed. So if we have like this big of a window of tolerance and emotions are up and happy and down and they're sad and like whatever, but we keep just pushing it out. We meditate and we just like, I'm going to let go so hard. That's the good thing to do. And we keep pushing ourselves out of the window of tolerance. Our system, not the me, but the sort of underlying sort of hardware, starts to treat meditation as dangerous because every time we do it, we get pushed out of our window of tolerance. So it's, in a way, it's a slower process than it might be for others, but that's just the fact of, having trauma. We have to really respect that, and we'll slow our entire process down. The quickest way is to actually just know, okay, I'm getting close to the edge of my window of tolerance. It's a little bit too much, and then, okay, I'm going to pull back and maybe not relax as much or whatever the thing is that's driving us, or maybe open the eyes, maybe even stop meditating. So our system starts to trust, okay, I will never push, this system will never be pushed out of its window of tolerance with meditation. So, Nick, thank you so much for subscribing. This is your 15th month subscribing. Incredibly kind. 15 months. Everybody, let's give some chats in the emoji for Nick, 15 months. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. What a kind person. Let's see. I'll put a bunch of those and a little of these. Very kind, buddy. Very appreciated. Got some of them. Very kind of you. Okay, let's go back here. I want to go back here and keep going with this report. Thank you so much. Let's see. Let's go to the next part.
A few interesting themes came up. The mind asking, is it okay to relax the body that much? And then a sense of emotional activation. Also thinking about how to report my experience during the meditation.
Totally normal. It's just another thing that happens. Don't worry too much about that.
A few interesting themes.
Oh no, stop.
Finally, feeling the awareness collapse around a self when you asked us to notice it. Having a preference for awareness come up, and feeling this preference relax in the last minutes of the meditation.
So the key is not to prefer, like, to be like, okay, self bad, awareness good. It's actually to start to be like both nature, right? Both are just natural. They're not good or bad. They're just nature being nature. So notice, okay, this is the experience of collapsing. With that experience sometimes comes preferring. Okay, preferring is occurring. It's just a sensation. The part where we said, okay, if you're pulled into the middle, what am I pulling from? What is the gravity sort of drawing its sort of density from? It's a great way. I mean, this is when we talk about this and not this, it's a great way to show us how the opposite, or the thing that we're not attending to, leads us right back to it. So in this case, we're referring to this, all this awareness as the maybe primary object in this case. We get pulled to something else and we say, well, what is this not? What is the opposite of this? What is it pulling from? What's its gravity sort of drawing in out of? And we can pull ourselves back to awareness. So, but just to notice that sometimes we're with one, sometimes we're with another. Which one has which effects? And over time, we start to recognize that the kind awareness is just very pleasant, or very that has a lot of qualities that are motivating. So the system will just tend to want to be there more, and we can cultivate a sense of identity with that kind awareness, a sense of that is the true me, or the true self. Was the subject of the most recent meditation on Friday. So that's what we did on Friday. If you want to go back into the archive. Okay, we already heard Julie's report. Excellent. Here's Jean. Oh wait, I really enjoyed. Okay, we're going back down here. We're hitting up Exalted. Welcome back, Exalted. Exalted, known for their great questions. Exalted says,
I was reading stuff about internal family systems. What do they mean by the true self in that model? Example taken from Wikipedia. If therapists first help clients to disengage from their parts and connect with the true self.
Excellent. Okay. So, and it said ifs. It actually means IFS. IFS therapists help their clients disengage from parts, meaning the various selves that arise, the me that arises, and connect with true self. This is kind awareness. Like, it's just a one-to-one. I mean, I don't know if every IFS therapist would agree, because they don't do meditation and they don't need to describe it in the way that I'm describing it, but I do, and I need to describe it somehow. So that's what I'll say, is that it is the kind awareness. In Hinduism, I think that there is a relationship of the awareness, this playful awareness being true self, and that's where the Buddhist argument of non-self comes from. But we don't need to get into the stickiness of those, but that's what we're talking about. When we talk about true self, they also they don't even call it true self, this is where it gets a little tricky. In internal family systems, they just call it self. This is self. It's actually a good linguistic trick, because someone comes to you and they're like, I think I'm such a jerk, I'm such a bad person. It's like, oh, so some part of you feels like another part of you is bad. Yeah. And then they say, well, how do you feel about that? Well, I feel angry at that part. Okay, well, now we know that we're not talking about what they'll call self or self energy. I'm going to call true self or kind awareness. Lots of names. So they know you're not talking from that position, because it has this sort of judgmental relationship. Kind awareness does not judge. It's in its nature, it's not judging. It just takes in what occurs. So then you say, well, how do you feel about that? Well, I'm mad at it. I'm mad that that's happening. Like, why would that happen? Why does it judge me like that? Okay, well, now we're talking about another part that's mad, that self is judging. Oh, okay, so some part of you feels mad that you judge yourself. Yeah, it really bugs me. Okay, we've established a few parts here, but the IFS therapist is very smart, or the system is very good, and they say, okay, cool. So, but how do you feel about that part that feels mad? Well, I understand. I understand it might feel mad because it hurts me. And so I have an understanding. Okay, now we're talking about this like kind, open, understanding part. So we're getting at least closer to what they would call self or true self, right? So it's this non-judgmental experiencing. And we sort of alienate ourselves from that experience. We think that we're all these judging selves and dividing the world in these specific ways. But this is a very important thing to cultivate, is this relationship to self energy, or true self, as they, you might call it. Okay. Nick says,
just popping in from the huge workload to say hi from old Sweden. Very nice timing, been trying to figure out a lot of stuff all day, so nice to not get stuck in that mode all day, week, life. Thanks a lot for the time codes. Bye, see you in the future.
See you, buddy. So P.S., just want to mention that he's mentioned time codes, so he's referring to the fact that our playback videos have time codes. You can search through the videos, but you said something that was important here. Oh yeah, getting stuck in that mode. Okay, listen, this is really important in terms of various selves. Yesterday I was getting stuff done. Okay, I'm getting this stuff done. I had this crazy problem with Dropbox. Everything was like, I don't even want to get into it. It was such a mess. And like it got merged with someone else's account. I was like, well, what the hell happened? It's like, did all my links get deleted? Whatever. It's like a mess. But I was like plowing away, solving. And then at some point I was like, I want to feel like I had a weekend. I often work through the weekend, and then Monday comes and I'm like, I need a break. I'm like, well, that shouldn't be the case. So I knew I was in a mode, and if I didn't do something, I was just going to stay in that mode. And so just noticing that we get into modes and that there are other alternative views of reality, that is, now we're starting to navigate parts. Now we're starting to do what's called mentalizing, which is thinking from someone else's position, thinking about thinking, knowing thinking from a sort of slightly removed position. Okay, excellent. Nick, again, thank you for your subscription. And we got lots of emojis, and that's the end. That's the end of all of our comments, questions, these kind of things. Any other questions, comments, interests? Did I miss anyone's report? Any other things that people want to know about before we disappear here into the night? Exalted now asks a fresh question here. Here we go.
How is it possible to connect with the true self without meditation? How is connecting in meditation different from connecting during IFS?
So it's the same process. But here's something actually really powerful that is like IFS, all therapy does, and IFS talks about very explicitly. They talk about it as, this term is like self-energy, meaning like the part of us that can connect with this self, right? In various meditation communities, there'll be like a guru. Now, I don't use that word pejoratively, but I know that it could easily have negative connotations or even negative, there could be bad gurus. But there are gurus sometimes who are, it's based, what is it called? They call it guru yoga, where like you'll have a photograph of the person, or you'll like Amma, who's this person who like is historically known for like giving hugs, and like people line up for hours and hours to just hugs them, and then it's like this incredible experience. The transmission of the depth of the material is through the sense of the power of the guru's special juju, their special internal something. What we could call that self-energy, or call that true self. So when you sit down with the therapist who you trust and who is listening to you, and there feels like this empathetic connection, it's not just you alone, because why wouldn't you just have therapy alone? Like, why not just do it alone? The other person's empathetic connection actually increases your own sort of self-energy and gives you the ability to navigate that. So in IFS therapy, the thing that's different is that there is someone else's self-energy there. So I have a group of people that I do something with. I've never talked about it publicly, so we'll see what happens, but it's related to some 12-step friends of mine. We started this group that is called the Doing Tough Stuff Together Action Group. If anyone wants to do it, you can, but I mean, I'll message me privately because it's a private group. So beep up is oh yeah, do that in Discord, and I'll give you the Discord link if somebody cares. People will probably be like, I don't care. So what it is we just get together for 2 hours and we work together, and that's it. There's no we do a little check-in and every half hour. Other than that, there's nothing. But like in that group, we all get this stuff done that we've been trying to get done for like huge amounts of time, and suddenly we can get it done. So the point of it is that the self energy or the group energy or this kind of thing is a very real thing. You can do things together that you cannot do alone. If you've ever been to a silent retreat, the power of the group and the container is incredible, and it just like really transforms the way we relate to the world. So that's one of the differences with an IFS therapist. You're being guided by them, and they're just asking you questions. It feels like a conversation. That's one of the main differences from meditation is here we're cultivating very specific experiences and sort of cultivating a kind of relationship to the world. I think they're doing that there too, but they're just saying like, okay, cool, like why don't you, they'll say go inside. Why don't you go inside? Is there any part of you that feels like it wants to speak? And then you'll go inside and say, yeah, this one part is like, God, I'm scared. This is so nerve-wracking to me. This is something I noticed when we started the meditation, or no, when we got to the point where we looked at, is a self arising? Is there a self in the middle? And I hung out with that for a little while. And when that self spoke to the kind of awareness, there was this like hierarchy that got created, and it was like, you're better than me in this sort of way, like you're good and blah blah blah, and I'm low and like, no, I'm flawed. And I was like, okay, cool, this is good information. There's part of me that feels like it's lower than or less than, which is something I'm familiar with. There's a very vulnerable part of me that feels like it's not good enough. Oh, okay, that's the part that's arising. Knowing that is a part that's arising without just having to be it completely, is basically it's like you're either identified with it or you're less identified with it or you're just unidentified with it. So we're cultivating very specific tools, and in IFS therapy it's just a conversation, but it does all the same things. So hopefully that helps make this a little clearer. You also ask, maybe I had misunderstood that the only way to connect with true self is awakening. Absolutely not. And this is a good message on awakening. So here's where there's a relationship between these two. Of course, all of the material that we talk about classical awakening, all of that material is here. It is this moment is pregnant with it. It is not some other thing we have to find somewhere else. It is this material. This is often when people have very deep awakening experiences. I have a friend, Jeff, who many of you, if you're from Canada, you know Jeff, who goes to Shinzen's retreats, and he talks about when he had this stream entry experience at a Shinzen retreat. Stream entry is the first level of classical awakening. He says to Shinzen, he just keeps saying, I can't believe how ordinary it is. I can't believe how ordinary it is. And that's a very funny story because it really is this extremely ordinary set of material. But it's like, oh, these ordinary things are stunningly transformative. That is like a very deep fact of kind of traditional insight meditation awakening, is like it's based on these sensations and not some other experience that's somewhere else. And in fact, all the cool magical things that like people talk about, like, oh, this happens in fireworks and blah blah blah, it's just this material. It is not a new set of material. It's just observing this material, and we notice details. It's like the thing, like, where's something here? Here's a dog toy, right? So you can look at this in several ways. You can look at it and say, oh, it's a monkey. You can look at it and say, oh, it's plush. You can look at it and say, oh, it's striped. You can look at it and say, it's upright. You can look at it and say, like, there's many ways that we can look at it. You can look at it and say, oh, it's coming apart and we got to replace this soon so the dog doesn't eat the stuffing. Like, these are all valid perspectives, and all we're doing with meditation is looking at details of things that are already here. So of course you would have contact with that part of you that is, the true self at any time. You have it now, maybe, right? But the mind is often drawn to particular selves that want certain things, etc. If we can even tell that the system is driven in a direction and wants something, okay, we're now in the realm of some degree of separating, some degree of de-identification, just noticing that there is a self that is arising. Great start. Okay. Gabriel says, yes. I don't know what that refers to, but I love it. I love it. Okay, so folks, good times, as always. So here's a big question for you. Anything else before we hit the road here? I want to check in on something. Okay, what the hell? This is something else. Okay, I see. Who is this person? I want to figure out who this is. It's not very interesting. Okay, sorry. I was going to raid someone, but I don't know who that is. Okay. Exalted says, but, okay, good. So Exalted, as often, is asking some very good probing questions.
But I thought the true self is just consciousness, awareness, which is merely the space in which things appear in. How can this be an agent that can act?
Ah, very interesting. How could we act and react to the world from emptiness? How could non-self function in a world that requires volition? How could is there such a thing as a doing, non-doing, right? So this is the crux of a lot of Zen thought, right? Is it possible to be in the world, to interact with the world, to fully occupy the world in a dynamic way? They're very focused on dynamics, it being like spontaneous and we burst into existing. Is there a way to do that and be in direct contact with emptiness, where there potentially is no need to have things be different? Are those two things could those things possibly connect? And the answer is absolutely, they can connect. It does seem like a paradox. I think this is what it comes down to, though. It has a lot to do with need. Do I need to have a self? Do I need to fight this particular moment? Can I choose to fight this moment? Can I choose to, like entropy would just have me like sit here and like melt away? Is that what awakening is? No, we can choose to take actions even if they don't directly add more sort of calm or peace or emptiness or spaciousness or whatever quality we're associating with the awakening process. In Zen, they talk about how form is emptiness and emptiness is form. When we can experience that and see that emptiness is actually tied to all of our experiences, it's actually woven through. It's like the dark matter sort of shaping and moving all of the active matter. This is like the very deep transformational experience, and that's where the bounciness of that true self comes out in our interactions. So just so you know, as I was talking about that, I typically like to talk from direct experience as it's occurring. So I was, efforting to let the system bounce on its own. So I wasn't trying so much to conduct that last set of sentences. I was letting the system sort of dance within the sort of dynamic push and pull of sense data, of volition arising, of the interaction of the sense of an inside and an outside, the mind dividing and re-dividing and tearing apart the world as it's unfolding, this kind of thing. Super fun. And what that is a connection with emptiness and volition. So it's just helpful to remember that volition is empty too. In early Buddhism, they talk a lot about how like volition is something to watch and pay attention to, and there can often be the sense that wanting to do or wanting to have volition or wanting to or attempting to do something is like somehow very problematic. But the thing is that actually what we're talking about is that the sense that this arises without unbidden, we can't control it. We're just sitting there, scratch and itch and move and do. It's like we can let the system do those things. We can let the system have that activity and be with it at the same time, versus like, oh, I just did this thing, I don't even know what happened, how did that occur? And the example of like picking something up is a very simple example, right? Another dog toy. I can pick this up, I can sort of move it around. I'm not controlling most of this right now. I think that I'm controlling a bunch of it. I'm controlling a very small percentage. The wisdom of my body, the wisdom of my mind, it is controlling the mass majority of that. Even the control is something that I'm not exactly controlling. So we're getting into weird territory where we get into self-will. But the reason I mention that is that's a very simple example. A less easy to see example is a self arising, a me that arises, that we think that we are in control of. We think that we have to control, we have to manage the world. Often that drive, I have to do X, Y, and Z, is a safety issue. We don't have to do shit. Not only do we not have to do anything, even if we don't do anything at this deeper level that I'm describing, we'll still have a perfectly valid life. The last thing I'll describe is there was a moment at the end of my last session of, I do psychedelic trauma therapy. It was at the end of the last session. I was like laying there, and you're pretty exhausted. I mean, it was like 9 hours long. I was like weeping and blah, like, you know, all this stuff for like a long time. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I can tell that it's time, like, it's time to get up and drink water and go to the bathroom, you know, because I'm just like exhausted and like, I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. So I'm so exhausted. I really don't want to. And I was in this thought in my mind, because not doing and not needing to do is a central theme of this last journey. And there's this thought in my mind that's like, you don't have to do it. Let someone else do it. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to do it. And my body sort of goes up, gets the water, tick, 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 tick. And I'm like, oh shit, some other part of me did it. So often, okay, let's wrap this in a nice little bow. Often our difficulty with parts, with these multiple parts, is that one part feels it needs to do when it actually cannot. So for me, my experience is I have this vulnerable part. It's like, oh my God, life is so hard. I got to water the plants, and I got to do this, like worry, worry, worry. And it's just like, it feels overwhelmed. So it has two things going on. It feels like it has to do all of these things. But it also feels, and here's where the torturous pain comes in, that it cannot do all these things. It's being asked to do something it cannot do. So it's just like, struggle, struggle, struggle. So part of my job is to comfort that part, find out what its ultimate need is, meet that need, so it doesn't feel the need to do that in the world, and then let other parts do it. Even if I'm not conscious of it, some other part kind of takes over and, oh, cool. Yeah, it's time to water the plants, this kind of thing. So that is my long bow from talking about the multiple self model and how it comes back to this question around the sort of spaciousness of non-self and, awakening, and how that ties right back into my relationship to the world and interacting with the world in a way that doesn't like crush me with, parts fighting in this way. Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm very glad that you enjoyed that. I have a little special gift for you folks, which is also a wish. The wish is as follows, folks. My wish for you is, oops, this is very funny. I'll do the transition anyway. What is my wish for you? Oh, in this particular moment. Okay, so typically when I do the wish for you at the end here, what I try to do is just hearken back to the actual meditation itself. This is so funny. Okay, I'm trying to... Nope. I'm trying to fix the screen so that the outro will actually work. Actually, just turn the sucker off. That's probably what I should do. When I make a wish for you, I try to return to the meditation and actually do it in this particular moment. So in this particular moment, notice that you're having an experience of self of some kind, probably. Usually we would default at a kind of thing that is observing the world, maybe not. Or you're having an experience of an open awareness that doesn't need anything to be different. There's no need in that. Or you're having a combination of the two. If you have any experience with either one of them, then you can use that sense memory, this is insight, to just know that there's a relationship between these two. Sometimes one is stronger, sometimes one is less. So in this particular moment is to attend to whatever is arising. Attend to that as a variety of selves that's arising. And using this to take us into the rest of our day. This particular moment, as we sit here experiencing some parts of us liking, some parts of us disliking, some parts of us experiencing the world as it is, just knowing that there is this deeper true self, the self that doesn't need necessarily. And if some part of us wants that, wants this current self to go away, well, that's fine. Just know that that part is a little self-judging, and give it a little love, give it a little internal hug. So folks, as always, it's been lovely to be here. We'll be back here in fewer than 48 hours. Practice well, take care of yourself, have fun, and we will see you all very, very soon.